Hey everyone, welcome to another speedpaint video. This one is kind of special because it's actually the cover for the webtoon I am currently working on. It's called 3 Summers Without You. You can read it on Webtoon for free on mobile or on PC, whichever one you'd prefer. The link is in the description box. So I actually did this drawing like last year in 2023 when I was still in China during the summer. It's actually when I came up with the story and the characters, not like OCs I've had for like my entire life or something. Essentially, it's a BL slash LGBTQ romance and slice of life comic. And if you like the idea of childhood best friends turn enemies, then lovers, this is definitely the story for you. It is set in modern day mainland China, so the two characters are obviously Chinese, hence the flag in the drawing. It was also like the most straightforward way I could portray that part in a single drawing. I wanted to make this comic because there's a lot of my childhood that I find myself reminiscent. I can never say this word. Reminiscing about nowadays. I was born in Canada, but my most formative years were actually spent in China. So it definitely was a big part of my life. I guess I wanted to make a story that could portray that type of childhood nostalgia, the culture, the food, and the mundane things about living in suburban China. But the story also includes the pains of growing up, so it also is very much a coming of age story. I don't have all of the details for the story planned out, but I do have the general outline down. I think family dynamics will also be quite a strong theme in the story, as the two main characters have two very different family dynamics, and I think it'd be something really fun to explore. As well as the tough love and high expectations that a lot of Chinese people experience from their loved ones. I think another major theme is obviously how the LGBTQ community is viewed in a more traditional society, as many may know that China, or even East Asia in general, is not very friendly towards the LGBTQ community, so that's something else that the comic will kind of delve into. Apart from the more serious themes in the comic, you get to have more fun and comedic scenes where the characters are just goofing off and doing what uni students often do. I think the one idea that I'm most excited for is when they go to an escape room together, even though that's kind of like far down in the plot, but to me, an escape room episode is like the equivalent of a beach episode, okay? And another thing that I'm very excited about, I haven't gotten to these scenes yet, is I would like to draw the characters. Like, the main character is a hardcore gamer, so obviously he'd play a lot of games. But I think it'd be really fun to draw he and his friends in like the game world, so I get to kind of play around with action scenes as well. And then I feel like I've told a fair amount about the comic. Anymore might be spoilers, so I think the best way to experience it is to go ahead and read it, and I would be very grateful because making webcomics sure takes a lot of time and effort. And I think that's as much as I will pitch to you guys, and I can actually talk about the art a little bit more. Even though it's been a year since I've done this drawing, I still think that it's very well done, especially the lighting and the way that the colors all reflect off of each other. I think the only issues I have with it is that Zhao Feng, the character on the right, his neck looks kind of awkward and quite thin, to be honest. And I also think the head size of the two characters are kind of like mismatched, like one person's head looks kind of larger. And also, the way that I drew the noses were kind of different for the two characters. So I probably use more reference if I were to do this again, or if I were to go in and like fix up these little issues. Also, looking at the video now, I probably struggled with the hands a lot at the time, but also, if you look very closely, I feel like the character on the right, his right hand bends, or his arm bends very awkwardly in that position. Like, I feel like if you were to do that in real life, it'd be very uncomfortable. But I feel like the way that I drew the light going through the flag and having like a silhouette of the character's hair is really well done, and pat on the back for myself for doing that. And I like that I used a solid color for the background because it doesn't make it too busy. Like, the main focus is the two characters' interaction anyway. And yeah, if things go well and I finish the first 100 or so pages of this webcomic, I can hopefully print it out physically and bring with me to sell at different conventions or markets. And honestly, I feel like for any artist to be able to have like a physical comic of their own is kind of like a whoa moment, because most of the time when we make art, we kind of just post it and it floats around in the digital space. But when you hold it physically, you're like, this is real. I made this. And obviously, there's gonna be some formatting I'm gonna have to do with the comic, but that's kind of expected. I did draw the comic in a like traditional comic format, like those page comics, but to post it on Webtoon, I then format it again using Photoshop and kind of like take each panel and then lay it out on the long scrolling canvas. And then I usually do have to adjust the word bubbles, and then that's how I post it on Webtoon. But I feel like even though it's more work, it's probably more time efficient, more efficient in the end, because then with the pages, I wouldn't have to like mess around with all of the panels and like format them so that it fits into a page, because I already drew it in a way that it looks nice on a like rectangular page. So it's much easier to manipulate compared to making the scrolling format into the page format. I hope that made sense. And I'm planning on making a, not exactly a tutorial, but more of a behind the scenes look on how I first draw the comic page and then transfer it into Photoshop and then format it and then post it. So hopefully that might be interesting for some people, because I know when I was starting, I was kind of like wondering how I would be able to like do both formats, but also not have to like go back and like reformat so many things when I'm actually done the comic. So yeah, that's basically the entire video. I hope you enjoyed listening to me pitch about my silly little characters, and I'll probably post a lot more comics content in the future. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!